name was Suddhodana.
Yes.
Suddhodana, and his mother was I kept calling it Maya for short, but Mahamaya. And without leading too much into the topic of one's birth, she had this miraculous birth of him, and then she died about 7 days after his birth to supposedly for her womb to still be pure because nothing else could occupy it after he was there.
Can you hear her? Okay.
Am I talking loud enough?
Okay.
I can talk louder.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Okay.
As for his father, when he found out about this prophecy of Siddhartha, he could either be a great universal king or he would be this great spiritual leader. He, of course, wanted him to be a great king, so he spent his youth, his son's youth, surrounding him with all his wealth and pretty girls and all these sexual pleasures, but ultimately that didn't work out because then that leads to more sites, but I don't want to lead too much into anybody else's topic, so.
Joy, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I got exactly the same thing she got. A little more.
Yeah.
Siddhartha was born, and as soon as he was born, he wrote 7 steps to all directions. And
No, we talk about his family, his
family.
Yeah, the other one is the wonderful. That's what you find.
well, I got the same thing she got.
Yes.
I just know from a previous class that after his mother's death, he was mostly raised by his mother's sister.
Okay.
And when he went to leave on his final thing, I think his father is in some ways portrayed in kind of a selfish light, but I think he just thought he was the best for his son. And he did try to stop him when he knew that he was going to leave. I think he armed the whole palace to try to keep him in, but still he was able to get around them.
Thank you. Anyone to add? Anyone want to add? Okay, anyway, even now, India is still, especially in Hindu traditions, they still classify people in 4 main classes, right? The first one is the priest class, the second one is the royal class, the third is the merchant or business, the last one is servant. So Siddhartha was born in the form of a royal class. And in India, in the past, this were many small kingdoms. So his father run a small kingdom. Yeah, what they call that's where he was born, Lumbini here. But so this is here in India, and Nepal here. In the past, countries are changing, right? So there's many small kingdoms until the times of Ashoka. We started about him. He unified most of Indian continents. But before that, there's many small kingdoms, and his father Suddhodana run that small kingdom. And this is a judge. This is a judge. Okay, here this is an ancestor, and this is the name and the judge of his family kingdom. This Suddhodana, his father Mahamaya, that's his mother. That's him. And later on he got married with the lady and it was Rahula. And later on, many of them, like Ananda, Anuruddha, Mahamam, many of them, the one who relate to Buddha, by Siddhartha, became monks and nuns in his order too. Especially Nanda, Anuruddha. Ananda is one of his long-time attendants. So that is his parents. And see, we talk about that, the wondrous birth. Okay, the next one, number 2, please.
Yeah.
You gonna find anything?
Oh, no, I thought the reading was in the book, and I didn't have the book, but it turns out the reading was online, right? So that's my bad. I didn't do it. I'm sorry.
Anyone of you can Actually, she mentioned bit, right? The wonderful world. You know, anyone of you want that too? Yeah.
The wondrous bird
Mm-hmm.
was when Maya, she was traveling and she was sleeping one night and she was visited by a white elephant that came or went into her body on the right side. She was traveling one day and she gave birth, but when she gave birth, like there was a tree that had a branch that came down so she could hold on to it, and apparently it was the most pure birth ever, which is why she died 7 days later. He came out and walked 7 paces to the east, which is the way he was facing when he attained nirvana, and then he said he was the master of the earth. I don't remember, I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyone would like to add? Let me a little bit more. According to Buddhist traditions, the last life of a Bodhisattva, or Buddha to be, okay, and then there's many level of Bodhisattva. This is 52, but this is the last stage of Bodhisattva. Most of them before they achieve to enlightenment and become a Buddha, they reside in what they call Tushita heaven. We learn about that later on, before they came down here. So according to legend, so the Bodhisattva, the last stage of his Bodhisattva stage, he absorbed the world, which families, with parents that he liked which parents he liked to be son. So he absorbed and picked up the kid, Suddhodana, and the mother, the Maya. So according to the legend, we say the legend, so the queen saw, in her dream, saw a 6 horse white elephants that went into her right side, and when she awake, she was pregnant, and that's the good side when she consulted with the counselor. So when it's due for her to give birth, so according to the tradition, she went back to her family's or parents' kingdom, the one that run different kingdom too. So on the way, she stopped at Lumini Park. That's where she delivered him. But again, according to the legend, he was born from her right rib, not in the natural way like us. You know, I think this has happened to most or all of the religious fathers, like Jesus Christ, others, like they have some special, some kind of miracles involved in their life. So there's the Buddha. So 7 days after she gave birth to him, she passed away. But when she was born, like and some of you know, he did 7 steps. And anyone of you watched what they call the Little Buddha movie before? No? Okay. It's still a good movie, Little Buddha. And so he walked 7 steps, and the last step he said, and this is my last life, and I'm the and the creator of this earth, of this world, and so forth. And after that, he became a normal child again. So because of this kind of assist side, so his father, we will talk about that later, but his father consulted with one counselor, and then that counselor said that, well, if he stay back in secular life, he would be a great king. Otherwise, if he lived the world to seek for a spiritual life, a spiritual inclination, he would be an enlightened person. That's what they call in India, in the past, is Buddha. Okay, so that's just related to his birth. Okay, now to yes, you have anything to talk about? What's mean well turner?
Well, what I got from the Will Turner was that whenever he was born, sages told his father that he would grow up and either become a universal king or an enlightened man, and he'd be a wheel turner, which in my opinion is somebody who starts a new cycle of life or has a great effect on the world.
Yeah.
So that's what I got from it.
Laurie? Laurie? Oh, yeah, please.
No, you said
No.
Lori's card back to me.
Oh, yes. Oh.
So I'm Ashley.
Oh, you're Ashley. Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
But I have her card. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So that's according to Buddhist tradition. Yeah, being a will turner, you're a red king in secular life. You have more some great impact on the life of many people. That's what the will turner is for. That's what his father wanted to do, right? Because he was king, but we know later on he gave up everything to seek spiritual truth. Okay, let's move on. Youth and marriage. Amy? Yeah, please.
I didn't know there was anything online, and I don't have the book, so I just went online and looked up Buddhist traditions with marriage. Is that what we were supposed to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very far.
I found that it's a secular affair. Like marriage is not like in many religions. It's like people are they're supposed to get married, or they're told that that's what you're supposed to do in that religion. But in Buddhism, it's just a civil thing between two people, and they can get blessed by going after their civil marriage to a temple and get blessed by a monk to help bless the marriage. And then they said that it's Buddhas, they limit themselves to one wife, and Buddha himself did not lay any ground rules down for marriage, but he did give advice on how to live a happily obtained marriage, being faithful, and he had there was a big list. He realized that man's downfall in marriage was going after other women, but a man needs to go through and understand the trials and tribulations of a marriage and obtaining a life with a wife and a family. And it says that there's no religious laws saying that a man must get married or stay a bachelor or lead a life of total chastity, or that you must produce children. Monks live a life of celibacy and maintain a peace of mind to dedicate their lives solely to the service of others, the attainment of spiritual emancipation. And they don't ever do marriages like priests and stuff do. They don't marry people, but they do perform the religious blessing services for the couples.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry that actually all this subtitle or topics related to Siddhartha.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I didn't know that.
That's okay. You can read it at this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay, Laurie. Sorry, Anissa. Aziza. Yeah, please.
She did. It's not about Siddhartha. It's
You know?
in general.
Oh, in general, I upload the Life of Buddha. That's okay. How about Arthur? You have anything to add about his youth and marriage? You read anything about it? No. Okay. Anyway, so his mother passed away after 7 days when he was born. After 7 days, after he was born, and he was taken care by his aunt, his mother's sister, since then. And he lived a life like noble child. But of course, this is some special things. Is that, for him is that he really cared for animals. There's many stories that one time his cousin Devadatta shoot the bird, but he saved that bird, and so both of them went to the court, and so the judge gave the bird to him because he's the one who saved the bird. And another important thing in his youth is that when he was about 11 or 12, one day he went out to the field with his father to attend, flower ceremony. In the past, especially they live in the agriculture environment. So the king used to go out to attend that type of ceremony to encourage the farmers to do the farming. So on that particular day, he went out with his father to attend that ceremony, but it's so boring that he sneaked out and sat under a small trees. And even he's just too small, 11 or 12. Somehow at that moment when he sat there, he attended what they call the first stage of meditation. And later on, that kind of experience helped him to go to the middle path. We'll talk about that. So, so anyway, so that's when he was young, and when he grew up, he studied all kind of science, literatures, and so forth, according to the Vedas, the Buddhism. And of course, they said he could, no one could match him in studying. And when he was 16, in the past, people got married early. Right? So when he was 16, he got married with a princess, a nearby princess, and both of them had a child. We'll talk about that. So, somehow he could not satisfy with whatever his father provided him. So because of the condition of the king counselor, the king wanted to keep the Prince Siddhartha inside the palace so that he didn't have much chance to explore to the reality of life. So the king built the summer palace, the winter palace, and the full palace for him to enjoy with all kind of entertainments you can, so that the king could keep this prince to enjoy life, to enjoy secular life, not to think about living in palace, so that he would be the next king. And that's what his father's intention was, but that's not the case because he could not satisfy with that kind of life. Okay, so let's move on. Foresight, Ashley. Yeah, please. You have any foresight. What's that?
Siddhartha's father knew there was a chance that if he witnessed any suffering, that he would not be able to look away, and he would be committed to dedicating his life to finding a cure to human suffering. So knowing this, his father tried to provide total pleasure for his son during every moment of his life, and tried to shelter him from any and all pain. And then one day, Siddhartha decided to take his chariot into town, and some historical accounts say that his father beautified the path from the palace into the city to prevent Siddhartha from seeing the vast amounts of pain and suffering in the world. So the Devas knew, is it Devas or Devas? How do you say that?
Deva.
Deva? The Deva knew that the only chance of liberation from all suffering was dependent on Siddhartha being awakened to the suffering that existed in the world. And so when he went to the city on the chariot, the Deva fabricated an image of an old gray-haired man who was slouched over and walking slowly on a cane. And he was very shocked by the sight of this man, and he wondered if it was just like an anomaly, or he asked his charioteer, Chandaka, whether this type of person would be seen on a regular occurrence. And he said that yes, the weaknesses of being old will occur to all human beings. So after his father realized that he witnessed his suffering, he proceeded to lavish him with sensual pleasures, but Siddhartha was too distraught to enjoy any of it. Do you want me to go through the next 3 days? It's just 2 more paragraphs.
It's okay. About others. Taylor? Yeah, you have anything?
Yeah, I'll just continue on.
Yeah.
On the second day, he did the same thing. He took the chariot out, and the Devas produced an image of a sick man, and he asked Chandaka about it, and Chandaka replies that all beings are subject to disease and pain, and Siddhartha returns to the palace and I guess goes to his designated area and contemplates on why sickness and pain happen, I guess. And then on the third day, he goes into the city and he witnesses a funeral, which he mistakes for a parade. So he goes and checks it out, and he asks Chandaka, "Why is everybody so miserable?" And Chandaka explains to him that it's a funeral, and explains that a man has died and that death comes to everyone in some form or another. And he's also goes back to the palace and thanks on what he's observed.
More? Have you keep the last one?
Oh, yes. That's
That's the
one.
last one.
I want to thank you too for sharing. They covered it real well.
Okay.
That was good.
Okay. Last one.
Yes, the last one was when he went back out the 4th day. He encountered this guy, this man that was it was like I think he was like a rich guy, but he had given up everything that he had to more or less to help those who had not. You know, he wanted to help people that were suffering, and but he couldn't understand. His name is Siddhartha.
That's a pretty name.
He couldn't understand why this guy was so happy, and he had given up all his wealth, and yet he was so happy, and he couldn't figure that out. And so he had to. So when he went back, he made a decision that was what he was wanting. That was what he was going to do in life. And so he went back to the palace and he told his father, and his father says, "Oh no, you can't do this." But he told him, he said something to the fact that he would stay if he could find him a wife that because he was married and he had a son, and he was leaving them as well. And he said he would stay if he could find a wife that was that would not die and would not get sick, and so this, you know, the king, he could not request that. So with that, he left.
Okay, thank you. Before we move on, now probably everyone of us has some relatives that pass away, right? Many or some, right? And we observe, attend the funeral service for them many times in our life, right? And our friends too. And sometimes our relatives, our friends pass away suddenly that we could not handle. How about some of you have any parents, grandparents, or relatives who stay in the nursing home? You do? Okay. Yeah, this is a bit sad, right? They were wealthy nurse before, but now they could not. So this is a process of life. We were born, and for some type of illness, we getting older, we pass away. That's normal. Process of life. No one can escape from that path. So regardless of the decisions we follow, regardless of the faith we have, that's a part of life. That is why the Prince Siddhartha, when he saw the first tree site, the sick person or person, the dead person, he recognized. Even he could enjoy a luxury life in the palace, but soon later he will be gone. So according to him, there's no meaning for that kind of enjoyment. Of course, for us, if we were billionaires, a millionaire, we can enjoy, right? And they say that's for the one who have won the lotteries, right? Later on, they may have some kind of what they call withdrawal syndrome. That means they lost the momentum, they lost the excitement after they won that kind of lotteries. How about you? Have you won lottery before? Otherwise, you need to go to school, right? Okay. Anyway, so that's just life. That's life. So no matter who we are, right, whether we are president, a rich man, and so forth, sooner or later we have to go. So, and how many of you have the question about life? Your life. Most of us, right? Most of us, even we are not religious. Even you are not a religious person, but sometimes that question pop up in your mind, right? Why are we here? Is that right? And where we heading to? Oh, so after we gone, so somehow later on, Siddhartha, he recognized, after his recognition of this process of life, he saw them, what we call the Hindu monk. Remember last time I told you about in Hindu traditions, when people, especially the men, get to the middle age or old age, so they're supposed to give up the wealth to seek for a spiritual life. So that's what we call the Hindu monk is for. So they give up everything and dress up in the simple way. Sometimes they carry the bowl too. So they're supposed to go here and there. They go to the forest, mountain, and so forth to do meditation, to learn from all the guru or teachers, to inquire about spiritual life or practice. That's honor. That's honor position. That's honor status in India, but not here. Later on, I will tell you some interesting story. That according to the tradition, that's follow all tradition. That the monks supposed to go out to beg for food. That's an honor act in India, but not, of course, not in the West. Anyway, I want to pause on that story for the other times. Anyway, so when he saw this Hindu monk, the one who gave up everything for spiritual life, he saw this is the path that I could take on to seek for the truth, to solve the human problems, to recognize the truth. So that's what this is. That's the next one going for Aaron.
So
yeah, please.
So he'd seen this monk and he had resolved that this was what he was going to do, and he went home and told his father, and his father put the palace on lockdown so that he couldn't leave. And so, but he was resolved, and that night he was sleeping out, and he went and stopped by his, felt intuition to go and stop by his wife's room and his newborn son. And he was thinking about whether or not he could leave and go off, and he wanted to go and pick up his son, but he knew that that this would wake up his wife, and then she would ask him to stay, and then he wouldn't be able to go, so he had to leave them there. But he resolved that he would come back after he had found the enlightenment and would give this back to them as sort of like payment for leaving.
Thank you.
So the act of going forth is a deliberate act of spiritual obedience that the Buddha, Siddhartha, chose so that he could achieve enlightenment. The act of renunciation is performed so that the believer can give up the world and all the possessions that have been obtained in order to seek a holy life. And when he made that decision, he he was immediately tested by realizing he had a son and that he had to leave that son. So I imagine that he had the same feelings about being a parent that like I have, and I don't imagine that it was an easy choice for him to continue with. That it probably took a lot of willpower and commitment to walk away from that moment and to go pursue the Enlightenment. Being raised in the West and being a mother, I can't comprehend how he was able to do that, and because I know that I couldn't make that decision. So it's a struggle for me to understand how he was able to do that, but I imagine that because he was raised differently and had different background and also